How would you feel if your entire culture or religion was being misrepresented by the media on a daily basis? This is how Muslims feel all the time, as the media says that Muslims practicing their Islamic faith are extremists and terrorists. This would be equivalent to saying all members of the Catholic Church are KKK members or all Germans are eugenicists. Through our research on representations of Islam in Western media, audiences are influenced by what they watch, regardless of how inaccurate and exaggerated it is. We see this through movies, television shows, magazines, and news broadcasts, as they portray all Muslims as violent, unreasonable people. A lot of problems come from people being uneducated about the Islamic religion and Muslims. For your better understanding, here is definitions for each. Islam refers to the religion, never a person who practices that religion. Muslim describes people who follow the Islamic faith but is not the actual faith. We will be sharing many examples of media representing Muslims poorly and the consequences that go along with this misrepresentation. The first example is the popular Charlie Hebdo magazine, who published satirical cartoons on Muhammad, and as a result, Muslim extremists assassinated many of the magazine leaders. This magazine was attacked twice by terrorists, one attack in 2011 and the other in 2015. These attacks were because of the Muhammad cartoons published in this magazine. The second attack took the life of 12 people. A publication in 2006 with the title being Muhammad Overwhelmed by Fundamentalists, and the cartoon of Muhammad said, "It is hard being loved by jerks." This cartoon had great commercial success and many copies were printed. This magazine was then sued by the Muslim World League under the claim that it was racist. The publisher of this magazine argued, saying it is racist to think that Muslims cannot understand the joke, but the lawyer argued, saying, two of those caricatures make a link between Muslims and Muslim terrorists. That has a name and it is called racism. Later, the court followed the state's attorney's reasoning that two of the three cartoons were not an attack on Islam, but on Muslim terrorists, and that the third cartoon with Muhammad with a bomb in his turban. In 2011, the newspaper's office was bombed and their website was hacked. This was because the newspaper decided to rename an edition with Muhammad, written as the editor-in-chief, and the cover had a comic strip with Muhammad that said, 100 lashes of the whip if you don't die laughing. This issue was a response to the oppression of women, restrictions of freedom, forced marriage, stoning people if they committed adultery, and oppressing gays. The editor argued when they got in trouble for posting a nude drawing of Muhammad that they do caricatures of a lot of people every week. But when they do it with a prophet, it is called provocation. But there is a specific rule in the Islamic religion that there should be no version, picture, or iconic figure of Muhammad. In 2015, 2 Islamic gunmen killed 12 people after bombarding the magazine's headquarters.
These events influence the way Western media portrays or did not portray Muhammad. South Park shows make fun of mainly godly figures, but cannot make fun of nor show the Prophet Muhammad. Many media forums have not shown Muhammad since the attacks in Europe. One director of South Park wanted to change the fact that this censorship is not fair and interferes with freedom of speech. A radical Muslim organization posted a warning on South Park's website that they will be murdered if they use depictions of Muhammad in their TV series. These media channels were irresponsible to show an image of Muhammad, the Prophet, when it is known that having an image of this Prophet is against all Islamic religion. There are extremists in every religion who attack people that threaten their way of life. However, the media tends to focus more on the Muslim extremists, which in turn gives their audience a sense that Muslims are all dangerous. Terry Jones is a pastor of the Christian Dove World Outreach Center in Gainesville, Florida. In July of 2010, he announced that he would burn 200 Qurans on the anniversary of 9/11. Because of the tenacity of his quote, the story quickly gained tons of media coverage. Protesters in the northern Afghanistan city of Mazar Sharif and elsewhere attacked the United Nations assistance mission, killing at least 30 people, including 7 United Nations workers, and injuring at least 150 people. American news analysts then went on to criticize and blame the president of Afghanistan for drawing attention to the Quran burning. The fact that it got any attention in the first place is because American news outlets covered it heavily. To turn the blame back around on Afghanistan for bringing yet another negative story about Islam to mainstream audiences is not responsible and is hypocritical of American media. Hillary Clinton said, "It's regrettable that a pastor in Gainesville, Florida, with a church of no more than 50 people can make this outrageous and disgraceful plan and get the world's attention. Our social representation is so far away from our social reality in this story. The fact that a pastor of a 50-person church can cause this much commotion in the world because of a statement he made is disappointing. By doing this, our media results in only covering negative aspects of consequences regarding stories and issues like these, furthering the concept of Islamophobia." The Siege is a film that shows international terrorism by Muslims in America. Audiences witness many killings of Americans, and finally the president announcing the use of martial law as necessary and the order to put Muslims in concentration camps. The implied message of this movie is that we as Americans must do something about foreign and internal terrorism or risk a future filled with Muslim attacks. Again, this type of media provides the interpretation that all Muslims are extremists. Even the Muslims who live here or in England have to deal with these stereotypes. These stereotypes are even further affirmed when the minority of Islamic extremists bomb and kill people. The media portrays Muslims as violent, unreasonable, and aggressive people. Just through this trailer, you can see how the producers showed a Muslim praying with his beads, followed by bombing done by Muslim extremists. This trailer also flashes a picture of many Muslims on their hands and knees praying and then skips to America being attacked. The way this trailer was produced is not a coincidence. Using Schiller's argument, the movie influences its audience to believe that Muslims are out to attack the Western world. Considering Schiller's definition of cultural imperialism, the content and programming of the media produced by large corporations are trying to shape society's values and beliefs of the Western world and its outsiders. Homogenization touches on the fact that culture gets sold through the media. Since a large audience is seeing many types of media show violent images of Muslims, this large audience is going to think that all Muslims are violent.
According to Al Jazeera, media representations of Muslims in the Middle East are not like the ones portrayed here in the Western world, many times because a single event will define a place in the Middle East. Over there in the Middle East, journalists tend to focus on a different way of life rather than what we're used to seeing. Recently, the media is covering Islam has focused solely on ISIS and their attacks. On the other hand, in the Islamic states, media is focusing on the Muslims trying to portray their messages in a positive way. Unfortunately, their efforts are clouded by Western media, making their efforts seem vain. Muslims have been trying to peacefully get their message across, but were set back by the terrorist attacks on 9/11. After that, many Westerners began associating the words Muslim and terrorist as synonyms.
Muslims in their own media act strongly to prove the Western media portrayals of their culture is wrong. Lots of their own media coverage is persistent in changing their global image from an image of terror and violence to an image of peace and religious practices. There are lots of incorrect stereotypes about Islam that the media in Islamic countries are trying to reverse.